Hello, my name is Maria Garcia, and this is my fellow film critic, Melissa Hanson. Hi, Melissa.
Hello.
And we're here today in the first of our Tribeca film series.
Yes, for 2012.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to be talking about some select women's films. Two are going to be Take This Waltz and Hysteria.
Mm-hmm.
The first, Take This Waltz, is a Sarah Polley film.
Yeah, and many of you will know Sarah Polley as an actress. She did two wonderful films recently called The Secret Life of Words and My Life Without Me. This is her second feature as a writer-director. The first was Away From Her, which had a completely different demographic. Wouldn't you say, Melissa?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, this film is definitely more, it's about Margot. She's a late 20s woman. She's been in a relationship now for about 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And her husband and her have a really childlike relationship where they don't really have an intimacy with one another.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of kind of an 8th grade poking fun at each other,
I like that.
or jabbing each other with words as far as just their way of communicating with one another is not evolved.
Yeah, I think if you're older, the reaction that you'll have to this film is that it does make you feel young, but they are married 5 years, and she's sort of getting antsy, Margot.
Yeah. She goes on a business trip, and on her way back, she kind of flirts with someone else, and when it turns out that he's someone who lives near them,
right?
She suddenly realizes that, okay, wow, I might actually be attracted to this person, and instead of stifling it and stopping it, she decides to go ahead and explore it and see what could come about it.
Yeah.
And it just, I think it really kind of, it shows how just different people approach different relationships. Because, there are the people who will say, no, I'm with this person, and, stop any further thoughts of anyone else. And then, sometimes it's the whole idea of someone new.
Right.
Not even necessarily someone that is better than who you're with.
Right. And Lou is a bit more of an adult than she is. I mean, he's writing a book, a cookbook, and so he's also quite busy because he's always at the stove. The relationship is at the point where it has to grow, right? I mean, they sort of have to mature a little bit. And she's not quite ready for that. In fact, they're not even ready for a dog.
Yeah. That was, I think that was another big thing that was in there. It's like they can't even do that together.
That's right. Yeah, and they're it's a wonderful film in the sense that there is a sense of freedom, right? Sarah Polley really sort of captures that wonderful thing that youth gives you, which is that there's always this possibility. But of course, Margot explores that. Perhaps it depends on your viewpoint. Perhaps too much, because she does tell Daniel that she is married. In fact, I think she says it several times, but that doesn't stop him. And it's what did you say? Something really wonderful, Melissa. How hot it is in Toronto. Right?
Oh my, yeah. You can tell that this is definitely in the middle of summer, and everyone has kind of a glisten over them with the heat. Yes. And Lou is cooking in the kitchen,
right?
And you just know it's just really, really warm in there.
One of the things that interested me about this film is that it sort of appeals to two demographics. I mean, there's the shower scene where the young women are under the shower and, of course, look lovely. Sarah Silverman, who plays Margot's sister-in-law, and they're sort of looking over at the older women in the class. It was a swim class, and the older women, of course, have drooping boobs, and they're heavier. And Margot keeps sort of looking over. There are several POV shots, and you think, well, yeah, that does represent aging, but it isn't the only thing that represents aging. And perhaps that's the view of a younger woman, And maybe what Polley is saying is it is more than that, but Margot doesn't really know that it's more than that. And maybe she's a little frightened that, this 5-year marriage is sort of making her feel older and that she does have to grow up. But she doesn't make that choice, does she? I mean, she makes the choice for youth.
Yeah, and what is the line? It says, "What is new becomes old again."
Yes, Sarah Silverman, right, her sister-in-law, who's a recovering alcoholic, and Sarah Silverman just does a wonderful job with this role, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely grows as her character, even though it's it's kind of a minute character, and she doesn't show up at just a few times. It's very impactful.
That's right. And the other thing is Sarah Silverman brings home the wonderful point that Polley makes here is that when someone in the family does act that way, as Margot does, I mean, Lou is devastated when Margot leaves. It isn't just their relationship. It's a relationship that's shared with the entire family, right? And so Margot's little niece misses her. Sarah Silverman sort of goes back to some old habits because she doesn't have Margot's support anymore. And so Polley is making the point that negotiating in relationships, making this negotiation about, moving to the next phase in a relationship, whether it's a 5-year marriage or the relationship to your family, impacts a lot of people. And Margot doesn't think about that. She's a bit self-centered in that way. And so even though Polley loves her, she's saying something about youth here that we all have to hear, not just youth. I mean, even when we get older, sometimes we want to recapture something that just maybe isn't possible anymore.
Usually films end right as a relationship ends. They very rarely show
good point.
two people in separate relationships because, everyone assumes, oh, well, you're with the next person, so it's going to be better. Well, it isn't necessarily better with Daniel. It's just different.
Right.
She's still the same person. She kind of still falls into the same habits.
Mm-hmm.
But, he, pursued her and, he won her in a lot of ways. So I think that's where it kind of comes with that relationship. She feels, like more valued.
Mm-hmm.
But I think of that. There was this scene with the amusement park.
Yeah, that's our
when
favorite.
they were on that ride.
Yeah, that's our favorite metaphor.
I love it because it's mostly her and Daniel.
Yes.
But there's a lot of the shots that are just of her.
Yes.
And you can just see the look in her eyes and on her face how she goes from just utter delight to just complete panic in the matter of seconds.
Yes.
And you don't know what's going through her mind, but anyone who's been in a relationship knows exactly what is happening because you want to cry one minute and jump off the roof the next. There's all those ups and downs, and that's the beauty of relationships. That's actually what makes them good is how up and down they really are.
Yeah. I think when Melissa and I were watching this movie, too, there was this sense that she, at least maybe, makes the wrong choice. She has a husband who cooks, who obviously there's great affection. Maybe, as you said before, there may be problems with intimacy in the sense, not sexual intimacy, but emotional intimacy, which she feels is lacking. But he's a good man. He's going to make a good father.
Lou, yeah.
Yeah. And so part of you thinks, no matter what age you are, yes, Daniel is just really exciting. There's this wonderful scene at the beginning of the film where Margot says, "And so, what will you do with me?" And it's a very sexy scene.
Yes.
And you think, yes, all of us could be drawn into that. And so I love that Polley plays with this idea of recapturing youth, and that maybe there's some sense of self-centeredness to it, but that we all need it.
Yeah, and that's what I like too, is the fact that it wasn't her completely cutting off Daniel and saying no. She actually kind of thought about it, and this has happened to a lot of people in relationships.
Mm-hmm.
People break up. There's people, get involved with someone else, and I think it's usually shown as a mistake.
Yes, or something, or the woman gets judged.
Right.
And that's the nice thing about this film. Polley isn't really making a judgment.
Right.
She's just pointing out what happens.
Yeah.
One thing we want to mention, though, is that the color in the film is maybe runs amok sometimes.
It gets a little vibrant here and there, and it's very exaggerated. The colors kind of mimic, Margot's heightened sense of emotion, and how things aren't. She doesn't view the world as completely true to color in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and we just saw not a woman-made film, but a film called Side by Side, and we learned about digital intermediary colorists who are able to isolate, for instance, a tree and make the leaves purple while everything around it seems normal color. And we think that, that's probably what happened here. And it was just a bit too much, because we really understood that Margot is sort of like, excuse the literary reference, but like Paolo and Francesca, she is Francesca from, Dante. And she's sort of swept forever by the winds. And in Dante, the two lovers can never meet in eternity because they were adulterers in life. And so you sort of have that feeling here. And it's enough. You understand that, I think, right from the get-go. So that's why we thought the color maybe was a little bit overdone. But anyway, what are we moving to next?
Hysteria.
Okay.
Which I really enjoyed. I thought it, it wasn't without, certain, story flaws, but it's the story of the invention of the vibrator. And it's something that is a topic that is a little taboo, and
Yes.
to say the least. But it's completely just funny and done in such a way that is very loose and just fun.
We should mention that it's Tanya Wexler.
Yes.
Is the director, and the film stars Hugh Dancy and Maggie Gyllenhaal, right? And it's with Jonathan Pryce, and Felicity Jones also has a major role. I didn't care for the film, I think, as much as Melissa did, because I think the script was flawed. I didn't like seeing the main character that Maggie Gyllenhaal plays from the point of view of a man. And so I think that's sort of the problem with the film. The other problem is that, by the way, her character's name is Charlotte, right? Mm-hmm. Charlotte is a woman of means, and she does charity work. And we see very little of that charity work in the film, so that the characters, that side of the character, which is heroic, isn't fleshed out enough. And so that at the end, when she's being carted off for a crime, and Hugh Dancy has finally, of course, learned from a woman how wonderful life can be, if men are involved with women whose spirit is free. I sort of resented, I've seen enough movies about men transforming through women. I mean, it's real life, I don't know that I need to see it at the movies. I wanted to see this movie from the point of view of Molly, who is, how should we describe Molly?
Oh, she's the maid.
Okay.
And she is, you get the sense that she is sexually experienced.
I think so. And may have at one point been a lady who was paid for those services. Mm-hmm. And Charlotte has taken her in, mm-hmm. right? But Maggie likes men, and in fact comes on to Hugh Dancy in a very humorous way. And I just thought it would be fun to have a woman like that tell this wonderful story about the vibrator. But that's another movie. We did think it was really well acted.
Oh, completely. I mean, Maggie Gyllenhaal, as always, is able to pull off an ordinary character, but give her a certain sort of flair.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. She's just, there's a certain life. The camera really loves her.
Mm-hmm.
We should mention that it's Sheridan Smith that plays Molly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a minor role, but she's so memorable.
Yeah, she's very good in that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We noticed, interestingly, that they were all male writers.
Yeah, I did notice that. There's 3 women producers, and of course Tanya Wexler, the director, and they're the ones who pioneered the project. But the 2 men were the actual writing credit.
Yeah. Anyway, I know this is a little dangerous, Melissa, but can we get in like 1 or 2 non-Tribeca films that we absolutely, have to talk about?
I suppose.
Okay. One of them was Mirror, Mirror.
Yes. I know. I really liked it. I kind of went into it like thinking it was going to be this, terrible, cheesy fairy tale type film. And didn't really have very many high hopes. But, I really enjoyed it. It was really fun. Julia Roberts as the evil queen. She was just fantastic because she's so likable. I mean, she just is. That's the beauty of like her acting. Yes. And it worked really well as her being evil and smarmy because you still really liked her.
That's right.
Armie Hammer is the prince.
Oh God, he's wonderful.
He is a prince. He he has the perfect kind of the chiseled jaw in a way, and he just has a very iconic fairy tale like look to him. And Nathan Lane, of course,
was hysterical as usual.
Oh my goodness, yes. Yeah. I mean, he does exactly what you want him to do.
Yeah, yeah. And we like evil queens.
Oh, yes.
We like princesses, but we like evil queens. And, the whole premise of the movie is it Snow White's story or is it the evil queen story? And, of course, there were some special effects that were very strange. I mean, when she walks into the mirror and she goes to this strange African-looking bungalow, which is just too weird. But the premise of the movie is interesting. Whose story is this? And we like that because, they're both women's stories, aren't they? There's the older queen who's, feeling old and not wanted. I mean, her husband did take off without, I don't know. Nobody knows where he went, right? And so now she's got, she's getting older and she doesn't have a king. And she's got this young woman who's, absolutely gorgeous and, of course, is the king's daughter. And so we like that idea. And the other thing is, please don't leave before the credits. Not only do you need to honor the filmmaker, but in this movie you get a production number, a Bollywood production number.
It's really fun.
Wonderful?
It is. Yeah. It was very fun. It was very nice to have that, to the end of the movie and just kind of capped it off just perfectly.
Yeah, I thought so too. The other one we just want to get a mention in is called Seeking a Friend for the End of the World, and that's opening in June, like Sarah Polley's movie, right?
That's right.
The movie is by Lorene Scafaria, and it is a movie about the apocalypse, starring Keira Knightley, and it's just, even though it's about the apocalypse, it's a movie that is just alive. Keira Knightley's fabulous. And she doesn't have anybody. Her family is in England. But it's just a very life-affirming film. Second feature, and just beautifully directed. So, okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And we hope to see you again.
Yeah, we're going to have our second in a series very soon.
Thank you.